Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all coming out early this morning. I talk pretty loud. I got to do one little quick amendment to my bio. I recently accepted a position with Indiana University Health. My wife and kids had been living in Indianapolis the entire time I was in Pennsylvania, and this was an opportunity for me to get back home. So I work with Indiana University Health. Indiana University runs a statewide healthcare system of hospitals and clinics, and one of their ventures is a sports performance center, so I oversee that. We train youth athletes. Any of you that have college athletes from the Indianapolis area, we'd love to work with them over the summer. We'll train them using your programs. We aren't going to put them on something that we design. I hated when I sent kids home for the summer and they do something totally different, so we'll do them with your program. We have a great facility. But I'll just ask you today, one last time, give me the honor of representing Temple University as their strength and conditioning coach. First, want to start with some thank yous. First to Scott Caulfield for inviting me to speak here, and the NSCA for the organization that it is and what it does for our profession. Also to the sponsors and in the exhibit hall. At Temple University, we had all hammer strength equipment. We had the Muscle Milk products, great stuff, and I would encourage you to support them. I'd also like to thank Boyd Epley. You guys see him walking around. We're all here because of him. I got certified my CSCS in 1998. It took me 17 years to get up the courage to finally talk to Boyd Epley, but I did it this weekend. It was a highlight of my conference, was talking to him for about 3 minutes. I want to share with you a little bit about my first NSCA clinic. It was a sports-specific clinic or a national clinic. I kind of got them confused. But it was in '99, and I can remember going there, and I paid for it myself. And I didn't even get to stay in the conference hotel. You know, the conference hotels are way too expensive when it's not getting paid for. So I thought to myself, if I ever am going to make it in this profession, how I will know that I've made it in strength and conditioning is when I can stay at the conference hotel. And I stayed at the conference hotel at the Hyatt in downtown Louisville, so I am excited about that. I saw Tudor Bompa and Bill Kramer, Meg Stone, even back at that time, Al Vermeil, Vern Gambetta. I saw so many great speakers, so many great presenters. I learned so much. I could never give back to you guys what I learned from them, but I will try. If you don't feel like you get anything out of this, I apologize. Feel free to talk to me after. Anything that you want to know, I'm an open book. I'll be happy to share, to try and give back just an ounce of what they've given me. Just want to talk about our profession. What is your profession? What do you feel your profession is? We have a lot of different titles. Just in looking through the speakers, we have directors of athletic performance, head strength and conditioning coach, directors of sports performance coach, senior performance specialist. What are we trying to do here? You know, I think before we know what we want to accomplish, we got to know who we are. To me, I just break it down very simple. Nobody you listen to this weekend or this week will be more simple and more basic than me. But it's what's worked for me. My goal for some of you young strength coaches is, after listening to me, say, that guy's a head strength coach at a Division I university. If that guy can do it, I can do it, no doubt. All right, because I am so simple, so basic. All right. So here's my profession. Here's what I'm here to do. 2 things. My profession: develop athleticism and increase awesomeness. All right? I think we all can understand the first one, develop athleticism. Strength, speed, power, you know, balance, coordination, flexibility, durability, proprioception, all those things. As big as that is, as important as that is, it's also important that I increase the awesomeness of my student athletes. This guy is out of his, what is he talking about, increase awesomeness? Let me give you 2 examples of increase the awesomeness. Dan John in the presentation yesterday. talked about, hey, when I was in the shot put circle or the disc circle, I was smiling. And my coach or someone asked, why were you smiling in the ring? And he said, well, because I was about to win the national championship. How did you know you were going to win the national championship? Because I was in the ring. All right? That confidence. All right? We should all, as strength coaches, have seen Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger, increasing awesomeness. The day before the Olympia. Yeah, I already called my mother and told her I won. Okay, we've all seen that. That's awesomeness. Well, how do we quantify that? To me, it's building confidence in your athletes because they know they've paid the price for success. Putting the confidence in your student athletes because they know they've paid the price for success. Dan John knew he paid the price and he was going to be successful. Arnold paid the price and he knew he was going to be successful. If I can put that into my student athletes, it's as equally as important as developing their athleticism to increase their awesomeness. Well, this sounds easy, right? Well, it can get challenging. Birmingham Southern College, I was the first strength and conditioning coach there. We transitioned from NAIA to Division I. Now, Division III, so be it. But when I was there, it was Division I, had 12 sports, 250 student athletes, and me, 900 square foot weight room. St. Louis University, 16 sports, 300 student athletes, myself, 1 GA. GA took classes in the afternoon, so he missed the 5 to 7 time when we were cranking. All right, had a lot of great interns, but how do we develop athleticism across a wide variety of sports? I'm not a basketball strength coach, I'm not a volleyball strength coach, I'm not a soccer strength coach, I am a strength and conditioning coach. How do we develop athleticism across all of these teams, all of these student athletes, when you're short-staffed? Well, what have I learned about that? Here's the number one thing I've learned. And it's kind of frustrating going back through this presentation and writing it out. I came down to I've learned 2 things. 15 years, I learned 2 things, but they're 2 pretty good things. All right, number 1, sports are more similar than they are different. I will go to my grave believing that. Lauren Landau gave the presentation yesterday about this right here. That all looks pretty similar to me. All right. I had the great fortune when I was at University of Alabama, Birmingham, getting my master's degree. My advisor was Dr. Gary Hunter. Dr. Gary Hunter has played a part in all of your careers, whether you know it or not. Dr. Gary Hunter wrote the first chapter in the Essentials textbook. So if you've read that first chapter in the Essentials textbook, he's influenced your career. He was my academic advisor. We'd sit down and talk for hours, and he taught a class, Advanced Concepts in Strength and Conditioning, and all we did was kind of analyze movement. All right, here's a track athlete, here's a fencer, here's a lacrosse lady, a field hockey player, a soccer player. What are the movements that they need to be proficient in to be successful in their sport? And we all know what they come down to. Every one is hip, knee, ankle, triple extension. That's all it is. Every sport that's played on your feet comes down to hip, knee, ankle, triple extension. Whichever athlete can do that the most efficiently, the most powerfully, is going to be the best athlete. Now notice, I didn't say is going to be the best player. We cannot account for skill. But whoever has the most hip, knee, ankle, triple extension, power, force, speed, durability, is going to be the best athlete. You know that. They run the fastest, they jump the furthest. And it's the amount of force that they can put into the ground doing that. It's hip, knee, ankle, triple extension. How much force can they produce? And then also how much force can they reduce? Reduce and then rapidly accelerate, rapidly produce it in another direction. So we can do it hip, knee, ankle, whether I'm running forward, hip, knee, ankle, put it into the ground, or I'm doing it in a more vertical component. Volleyball, jumping up, rowing, it's really a vertical component sitting down, okay? Gymnastics, basketball, the wrestler, it's hip, knee, ankle, triple extension. That's all it is. All those sports, the training for all those sports doesn't have to be super different. We can also go hip, knee, ankle laterally. We're right here, hip, knee, ankle, boom, to the side, but it's triple extension. Whether I'm going forward, up, or laterally, it's hip, knee, ankle, triple extension. Whichever athlete can produce the most force, reduce the most force, transfer the most force, with that one movement is going to be the best athlete. If I am trying to develop athleticism across multiple sports, and I can get my student athletes to hip, knee, ankle, triple extend better, on some level, I've done my job. All right, well, that's good in this room, but how do you convince coaches that? Because coaches, you know this, they think their sport is just this unique unicorn that nothing is like this. It's totally unique, it's totally special. No other sport can possibly be like this. So how do we convince our coaches that? Well, you got to kind of be delicate with it, all right, and understand what you're trying to do. Here's what I've never heard in a coaches meeting. I've met with dozens of head sport coaches throughout my career. I meet with all of them. Coach, what are you looking for from strength and conditioning? I've never heard that I really would appreciate if you could get my athletes a little slower. They're too strong to play their sport. Their fitness level is probably a little bit too high. If we could have a few more injuries, that would be great. And they're just, if you could weaken them mentally, if you could somehow get them a little softer mentally, I would appreciate that. So those are things I've never heard in a coaches meeting. All right? So all the coaches, really, whether they know it or not, are looking for us to do the same things with their student athletes. Now, how many of us has heard this that have worked with Olympic sports? I don't want you to train them like football players. We've all heard that one. No, you don't want them to be fast. You don't want them to be explosive. You don't want them to be mentally strong. I can appreciate that. That's the last thing I want your student athletes to be. So this specificity, when I come to a sport coach with specificity, what do I talk about? Well, hey, coach, your sport's played on 2 feet. We got to be explosive. Hip, knee, ankle, triple extension. If I can get your student athletes to, hip, knee, ankle, triple extend better, they're going to jump higher, run fast. Oh, and the coach likes that. Fast movement speed. You want your athletes to play fast, right, coach? Yeah. Well, then we're going to lift weights fast. We're going to be explosive. We're going to be powerful, dynamic. Ooh, I like it. Multiplanar. Coach, you want them going forward, sideways, lateral, backwards, all those things? Yeah, well, we're going to train free weights, multiplanar. We're going to be aggressive. You want an aggressive team out on the quarter field? Yeah. All right, well, we're going to be aggressive in the weight room. We're going to coach them hard. They're going to train hard. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to be now specific to the energy system. Conditioning-wise, yes, we're very specific to the sport. We're not going to train a soccer player like we're going to train a volleyball player. But in the weight room, with what we can control in the weight room, it's going to be very similar. Injury prevention, we can hit on then, a little bit more sport specific. Okay, well, what is the major injury in your sport? Is it a shoulder? Is it an elbow? Is it a knee? Is it an ankle? Is it a concussion? Okay, we can plug in exercises that are going to try and reduce those injuries. And then again, mentally tough. At the end of the day, again, I've never had a coach, well, I have to take that back. I have had one that said, I don't want you to work my team too hard. So I've had that once. But most of the time, your coaches want you to push their team, to work them hard. And we can do that. So if that's similarity number one is that sports are more similar than they are different. What's similarity number 2? Student athletes and their needs are more similar than they are different. When I was at Birmingham Southern, it was the 4th smallest Division I school. I went from there to Ohio State, first or second biggest. St. Louis University, kind of right in the middle. Temple's one of the 30 largest universities in the country. So I've seen athletes from a lot of different environments, public, private, major conference, small conference. Let me tell you, and your athletes are exactly the same. They're no different. Fill this in for your athletes. Do your athletes like to run? Nope. Do your athletes go out on Thursday night? Yep. Do your athletes eat breakfast? Nope. Do they have a chronic lack of sleep? Yep. Do they listen to awful music? Yep. And without you there, would they squat high? Yep. I don't care where you are. I don't care what college you're at. Your athletes and my athletes are the same. They're 18 to 22 years old. Now, when I was at Ohio State, they had a little more gifts coming out of the womb than the ones at Birmingham Southern. A little taller, a little faster, little this, little that, just naturally. But really, there is no difference. No difference at all. This then kind of gives of what are their needs of the strength and conditioning department. All right, so I just said student athletes' needs are basically the same. Well, there are some differences. So these are just a snapshot of some of the sports student athletes that we had at Temple. Right here, this is women's lacrosse. This is a girl here on the left that can, squat legitimately. We legitimately squat, can legitimately squat into the mid-twos, clean 185. This young lady on the right cannot. All right, same thing. These are men's crew. You got your ectomorph and your mesomorph. This is field hockey. You have a young lady here, much like this one, an incredible amount of muscle mass, power. This is a freshman. These are two freshman volleyball players. This girl comes here, she comes in and is able to squat, 150 pounds. We got her to 200 pounds. This one here, is working with the 35-pound bar. So while I just said student athletes' needs are more similar, than they are different, they're very similar, there are some differences. How we organize our training, did it at St. Louis, did it at Temple, we don't go specific by their sport. Again, I mentioned 90% of our weight room training for all of these sports is the same. Where we vary our training, where we're specific with our training, is by what we call training age. All right? These might both be freshmen, but the training age of this young lady here is 3 or 4 years. The training lady of this here is 3 or 4 weeks. That's where the specificity comes into play. To me, it makes less sense to train these two ladies the same than it does to train a lacrosse and a field hockey player the same. If your freshmen are doing the same workout that your seniors are doing, you either got a hell of a freshman or you've not been doing much with your senior. But good exercises are going to make them all better. They should all squat. They should all clean eventually. But if you're training your freshmen the same as you're training your seniors, these two girls have totally different needs. For our sports, and like Cal was saying, tissue, muscle, this girl has enough muscle. This girl's strong enough to play field hockey. That girl's strong enough to play lacrosse. That guy is a big dude. He's strong enough to crew. She's strong enough to play volleyball. These other ones are not. They got to increase their strength. So, understanding these two facts. Sports are more similar than they are different. Athlete needs are more similar than they are different. Understanding these two facts can help you manage an efficient, consistent, successful strength and conditioning department. Department. Not, I have a great basketball strength and conditioning program. I have a great tennis strength and conditioning program. I manage a strength and conditioning department. A lot of you manage a strength and conditioning department. That's different than having one individual program. And this can be done either, a department can be one coach with numerous teams or numerous coaches for numerous teams. At Temple, fantastic university, they put a ton of resources into strength and conditioning. They gave us anything we wanted. I had 23 teams, myself, 3 assistants, and 2 GAs. We had people coming out of our ears. But we still all had to coach with a consistent message. We still all had a consistent theme with our training. Consistent language, consistent cues, consistent goals, consistent testing. So whether you're a one-man show or you're on a giant staff where everyone wants to work together, here's how we can manage a strength and conditioning department. I'm going to touch on all of these things because they all come into play. Rules, scheduling, testing, warm-ups, program design, conditioning. Those are things you all battle. All right? And things that I've worked through and think that I did a pretty decent job with. All right, rules. When you're dealing with 23 sports at Temple or 16 sports at St. Louis, it is very important to have a consistent set of rules in your weight room. Because you're taking student athletes from all these other different programs and having them try and coexist in the same room together. So that looks like a lot of rules. It is. I get it. I understand. But if we don't set the rules clearly, without rules, there's chaos. And I cannot stand chaos in our weight room. A lot of the coaches have to buy in because some of these rules are different than their rules. But this is my weight room. Andrea Hootie had the great speech yesterday. Be in control of your weight room. I'm in control of my weight room, so they're my rules. All right, when they're at practice, they don't have to follow my rules. When the team's in the weight room, they got to follow my rules. I'm going to highlight on 3. Right here. No profane language from participants or music. Folks, this is a profession. All right? It's not a job, it's a profession. I work with college athletes in a professional environment. There is absolutely no place for foul language. You're better than that. You're more educated than that. Now, this was tough. I lived the last year and a half in Philadelphia, where the F word is the adjective of choice. All right? It's the go-to adjective. So that's tough for our student athletes to get adjusted to that. All right? But foul language in our room, everybody stops. We do 50 bodyweight squats, the whole team. No foul language from participants or music. The music that we listen to and that we allow in our weight rooms is very important. And I don't care if you think it isn't, it is. We have a strict no Lil Wayne policy in the weight room. If you listen and allow your student athletes to listen to music that is consistently objectifying and denigrating to women, what are you teaching your student athletes? I'm calling you guys out on it because I hear it on your YouTube videos. If you let your student athletes listen to that music and then they go out and get in the newspaper the next day for sexually assaulting a female, did you do anything to stop that, or did you promote it? Did your little bit allowing them to listen to that trash promote that activity? You answer that question. I got to experience it firsthand with a program that I did not work with, but at a college that I did. And they let their student athletes listen to filth. And then they get 2 guys in the clink because of what they did to a female. Ooh, how did this happen? Hey, is it the whole thing? Is it the whole reason why it happened? No. Is it a little part? Maybe. And if it's a little enough part, then stop it. If you listen to music, I like country music, but dadgummit, country music right now is all about drinking beer. If I listen to country music in my weight room all day long and it's song after song after song after song about drinking beer, and I tell my student athletes, hey, don't drink on the weekends, am I really promoting that or am I not? I'm there to increase the student athlete's awesomeness. Being denigrating to women and every song about drinking beer, that ain't awesome. If you think that's awesome, I'm sorry, you're wrong. All right, that's my soapbox, and I am now off of it. All right, so no foul language. It's a professional environment. We're better than that. The other one, as equally important, is this one right here, no saying can't. The last thing, the least important thing, the least interesting thing I'm interested in my student athletes is what they can't do. Nobody has the right to tell you or your student athletes or your children what they can't do. Nobody has the right to tell me what I can't do. I can do it. Now, you may have a student athlete that's injured. They may be currently unable. They may have an injury which prevents, but there is no can't. There is absolutely no can't. Right in our weight room. Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. I lifted weights my whole life. It was finally when I got around another lifter who had the most positive can-do attitude in the world that I got an elite total. Because I was around somebody that the word can't never entered the vocabulary. When I leave a university, and I've done it more often than I like, but the student athletes always say, hey, appreciate everything, I'm never going to say can't again. When they send me a thank you card, when they email me at my next job, they say, hey, I really appreciate everything, there is no such thing as can't. I increase their awesomeness. You all do corrective exercises for athleticism, for physical things. Not saying can't is a corrective exercise for your attitude. Do it. They say can't, 50 push-ups, whole team. The worst word you can say. My student athletes believe that they can. Again, they might be currently unable. They might have an injury which prevents them. But the word can't is not in our vocabulary. So those are the rules. Here's scheduling. We all know scheduling. We've seen a schedule that's looked like this. Busy 6 in the morning till 7 at night. Again, having a consistent training program allows you to coach multiple teams. If volleyball and softball are in the weight room at the same time, they're all doing the same things. They all squat low. They all progress their cleans like this. It's not, well, I got to have a bunch of BOSU balls over here and then a bunch of physio balls over there, and we're running 3 totally different programs, and we can't have good flow in the weight room. Very consistent. Very consistent. You'll notice one other thing here. We have this makeup period for student athletes that can't make their normal workout time. That's also the time that myself and my staff train. You will learn more from training yourself than you'll ever get out of any book or conference you go to. And I want to let you all know, it's okay to train while there's a few student athletes in the facility. I don't train when there's a team going, but if there's 3 or 4 student athletes coming in for a makeup workout, I'm going to be in there training. It's going to give me instant credibility with them. I'm going to learn about the program. I'm going to learn about myself. It is okay to train. I believe that success leaves clues. You look at all these presenters, from Mark Watts to Dave Tate to Matt Wenning to Dan John to Meg Stone to Andrew Hootie. Success leaves clues. We all have different degrees from different universities. We all have different mentors. What do we share in common? We all train. We don't work out. We train. If you don't train, what gives you the right to train somebody else? If you don't care enough about yourself and your development and your health, why should I think you're going to care about the health, development, strength, power, anything of a student athlete? I'll learn more from a coach about how they train than who they've mentored under and this and that. You got to train. It's of the utmost importance. So that's a little bit on scheduling. Testing. Again, we have all these sports, but the tests are consistent across the sports. We do the same ones as you do, 20, 40, or 30, or 60, 5, 10, 5, T, test, squat, bench, this, that. We do all that. Well, we don't test bench, actually, but we do all this testing. But we're not hamstrung by it. I don't do the FMS testing because I'll tell you why. I don't need to test what I already know. I know my incoming freshman athletes are going to bomb out on the FMS test. I've seen it enough times. I've seen them enough times. I've had enough freshman classes come through where I know they're asymmetric, they're weak, they're this, they're that. I don't need to test what I already know. It's up to them to prove me wrong, like that freshman volleyball player. Prove me wrong that you're a great athlete right now. Otherwise, why do I need to test what I already know? What I need to do with my student athletes is we got to train. I can't waste a lot of days going through all these fancy tests and blah, blah, blah. We got to get training. Cal Dietz, we got to get running. All right? And then, make the test mean something. This is great, but that doesn't mean anything. Tina Murray gave the speech yesterday, and they have some kind of continuum of something, and the last one is empower. Empower the student athletes. When I test pull-ups and have a student athlete that was never able to do a pull-up, and now she can do a pull-up, and she cries, tears of joy because she can finally do a pull-up. That's meaningful. That's powerful. That's increasing awesomeness. That's a meaningful test. You ain't going to cry because you went from a 1 to a 3 on that. You're just not. That's why do it. All right? In our program, every day is a test. We have this great motivational thing called the Iron Owls at Temple. I hope you can check it out. But every day is a test. I'm preparing my student athletes for life after athletics. NCAA commercial. 500,000 student athletes. They're all going to go pro in something other than their sport. Hey, I better teach them when they leave here that every day is a test. When they're at work, on the job, every day is a test. Oh yeah, and they better not cuss like a sailor at their work. Well, Coach Scott, you let me swear in the weight room, so I went to a job interview and I dropped an F-bomb. Why didn't you tell me? Hey, I ain't going to be my student athlete. We test every day is a test. And we're just looking for limiting factors of performance. Every freshman that comes in, Cal Dietz hit on it, limiting factor of performance, strength and work capacity. I won't be at Temple in August when the new student athletes come in. I'll tell you what their weaknesses are right now in January. Incoming freshmen, it's their strength and their work capacity. And it'll be the same thing the following year. They have to prove me wrong. And there'll be one or two that will. But it's strength and work capacity. Now, eventually, if we do a good job with our program, their factor of limiting performance is no longer strength. I don't have football. We don't have to move another person. If my student athletes can efficiently, durably, powerfully move their own body, boom, we're good. We can all lift a volleyball. We can hold the tennis racket. All right? So hopefully, at some point, their limiting factor of performance is no longer strength. And then we can focus less on the weight room stuff because we're good. And we work speed or fitness or whatever it might be for that individual student athlete. That's how we're specific, not by sports, but by the student athlete's need. Also, games are a pretty good test, volleyball team at Temple, we had best year in 10 seasons. The coach said, are you going to test the girls when the season's done? Coach, you guys test every Friday and Sunday. All right? You're 25 and 8. 25 times we passed the test, 8 times we didn't. Let's look at those 8 days why we didn't pass the test. What can maybe we do a little bit differently? Warm-ups. All right. There's 2 things that are non-negotiable in my program. 1, we will warm up great. You spend a lot of time warming up your student athletes. 10, 15 minutes a day, 2 to 4 times a week. You can spend 30, 40 minutes of your whole week warming up. Don't waste that 30 to 40 minutes. We have about 20 warm-ups that we roll through with our student athletes, and they work on a wide variety of things. They can work on, technique. So we have a skipping warm-up that teaches them basic running patterns, a hopping warm-up that teaches them how to decelerate from landing. It's the Cincinnati Sports Metric ACL prevention. Change of direction stuff, which I got from the Mizzou staff a while ago. Then we can do quickness stuff. Now, what I'm about to say may get me thrown out of the NSCA. And I'd be very sad, but I'm going to say it. I use the speed ladder? All right, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands because you don't want to admit it. Hey, the speed ladder just has a bad name. It'd be like saying the agility pull-up. Well, I do pull-ups and it doesn't help my agility. Well, no kidding. That's not what it's there for. It's not a speed ladder. Take the speed out of it. It's just a ladder. We use the ladder because it's a great lower level plyometric. The people that hate on the ladder are the same one that have their student athletes jump rope. Jumping rope's great. Ain't no different than a forward hopping on the ladder. But the ladder, low level plyometric. We all talk about hand-eye coordination. What about foot-eye coordination? If you have a student athlete that goes through the ladder on a very simple pattern and jacks the whole thing up, their feet and their mind are not on the same page. If I can improve that, I think they'll be a little bit quicker. Why not do that? Variety, low-level plyometric, foot-eye coordination. There's a lot of things you can get out of the ladder. We always, we break the ladder in half, we'll sprint out 5 yards, slide out 5 yards, backpedal out 5 yards, jog back to the end. Our ladder warm-ups, they end up running about, jogging, running somehow about 600 yards. It's a little bit of conditioning in there. So I use the ladder, and my name is Scott. All right. The warm-up is also very important because it sets the tone and tempo of the workout to follow. The same people that are going to bang on the ladder are going to have their student athletes go jog a lap, sit down, and stretch. Well, I'm sorry, the ladder's better than that. Our warm-ups are fast-paced, quick tempo. We're coaching, we're moving, we're working, we're teaching. Boom, 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 boom. That follows right into the weight room because that's how it's going to be. So the warm-up sets the tone and the tempo for the workout to follow. If your warm-up is slow, if your student athletes don't even need you to go through it because they've done it so doggone many times that it's just old hat, hey, mix it up. Get them thinking. They need to come into the weight room and be, all right, what's going on? What's going on? I'm ready to go. The warm-up sets the tone and the tempo. And these are beneficial to all sports. Mobility, your hurdle drills, your Parisi warm-up, or your DeFranco's Agile 8, stuff like that, dynamic flexibility. This stuff is good for everybody. All athletes. Now, do we teach our rowers and crew guys how to run? No. Swimmers? No. Do we teach them how swimmers how to land? No. But for those sports that are played on 2 feet, gosh, they got to do all this stuff. Okay, program design. We do 3 total body days a week. Dan John said with the Frankenstein program, we're total body. We don't cut things up. So day 1, this is for all our student athletes, all of them. Day 1, they're going to do some kind of warm-up. We have 3 abdominal movements, basically stability. To me, stability is the same as anti-rotation. We have an injury prevention exercise that we'll plug in. Hip, knee, ankle power, hip, knee, ankle strength, upper body push, upper body pull, and a hard work drill. Just like Dan John has his 6 things, these are kind of my things that I want to get in every workout, and I want to hit them. And then my staff, myself, we can punch different exercises into these things, but we're all following the same routine. So what does this look like? Right here, this is would be our level 1, our freshmen. Here's our weeks, off season. We do basically a renegade row, a pistol squat to a box. But again, this could be something different. That's that injury prevention line. That could be a neck thing or a forearm thing or an elbow thing. We always start with the hip, knee, ankle power exercise. We're teaching our Olympic lifts right here. For our freshmen, we start with dumbbells. We have 8-week progressions to teach them the Olympic lifts. Squat. Clean pull is our deadlift. We just get up on our toes and shrug with it, but it's the same thing as a deadlift. So again, hip, knee, ankle power, hip, knee, ankle strength, another hip, knee, ankle strength. We got an upper body push, upper body pull. Hard work drill, something at the end, just hard. Farmer's walk, suitcase carry, sled push, leg straight drag, running up and down stairs, it doesn't matter. It's just some kind of hard work drill. So here's what a day 1 would kind of look like. This is our women's track team. And we might not watch the whole video because I'm a little running short. But this is day 1 for track. This is day 1 for volleyball. This is day 1 for soccer. It doesn't matter. So here we're doing jerks. Now these are our level 2s and 3s. This is a level 3. That's a level 2. Only again, just because that's a really skinny girl, this girl's got bigger legs than I do. All right, so we're doing our jerks, our hip, knee, ankle power. We're going to go follow this with a jump. We're going to go follow this with a lateral hurdle jump. We always do our explosive exercises. We squat low. If you don't squat low, I don't know what to tell you. So we're just going through it with our student athletes. There'd be another bunch of student athletes over here doing similar things, and then there'd be another whole sport over here. The women's lacrosse team would be over here doing roughly similar things as well. All right, but these are our jerks. You saw some of our front squats. Basically on the day, again, we're going to do some clean pull, hit some of our ab exercises. We'll just get to, but again, we teach this across all the sports, not just some. That's good enough, sir. You can stop it there and we'll move on. So here's day 2. It's a total body, but it has an upper body emphasis because this is the day we're going to press. All right, so we have our great warm-up. We do our stability exercise. We do an injury prevention exercise. We get into a hip, knee, ankle power, which is going to be a clean. And then we have just an upper body push, upper body pull, our ab rotation, flexion, assistance if we need it, and our hard work drill, which is going to be our sled on day 2. Go ahead. Next one we can, so here it is. Stability. I don't do planks. A plank is on a pirate ship, so we do 4-way stability. We do some body weight hams, overhead squat, cleans, bench row ab, and then our hard work drill. Let's take a look at this. This will be our women's rowing team, and I'm not going to show you the stuff that nobody wants to see. So we'll start with overhead squat, and these are some taller ladies. We use overhead squat. Again, I don't do the FMS, but I love the overhead squat because, you can learn a lot by it. That ain't bad. And across all of these sports, these are our level 2s. All right, over on this side of the room would be our level 1s. And in this week, they were maybe still doing overhead squat with a band, maybe doing overhead squat with a stick. We might get to see it here. So they're doing, the level 1s over here are doing it with the bar. This is then past our 9th week. But again, we want to hit that consistent depth across everybody. Flexibility and mobility is the one component of fitness that as you age, you lose. As you go from a child to an adult, you gain strength, you gain speed, you gain agility, you gain fitness. You lose flexibility and mobility. It's our job just to get it back. They had it at one point. It's just our job to get it back. Have your student athletes go through a full range of motion on their exercises, for crying out loud. It's so easy. Everybody can do it. Well, I have a bunch of guys that can't squat low. No, you have a coach that doesn't demand that your guys squat low. We squat low. The weight will follow. Like Khaldeet said, hey, these exercises are a tool. We're not here to develop powerlifters and Olympic lifters. These exercises are a tool to increase athleticism. Here they're doing cleans. Nothing fancy on the cleans, but just an idea that, again, we're going to have all of these doing them, all these doing them. The girls over here, the level 1s, are just learning how to do cleans. Good enough. We'll move past that. Whoops. So then day 3, same deal. This is everybody's day 3. We do a warm-up. It's our lower body emphasis. It's our day when we're going to do our big squat day. I'm in love with squatting. It's my favorite exercise. I think it's the best exercise. I'll tell you this, I would rather back squat and do nothing else than do everything else and not back squat. That's how important it is to me. You think I'm nuts? That's fine. But that's how I feel. All right, so we hit injury prevention. Hip, knee, ankle power on this day is going to be our snatch, squat, single leg movement, and then we get into our other things. This is what it looks like. Again, Turkish get up, some kind of injury prevention, hip, knee, ankle power, hip, knee, ankle strength. We get our upper body push. There should be an upper body pull in there somewhere. We get our farmers. And we'll just take a look at this one. This is our fencing team. Fencing. We train fencing like we train volleyball because they got to be powerful, they got to be explosive, and I got to increase their awesomeness. And this is a great video. This is the first time they snatched with the big weights on the bar. Look at that. She's so happy, smiling. She couldn't believe she did it. All right? Because, they got those big weights on the bar. And the student athletes in our weight room, they have fun. They're enjoying their time. We're listening to positive music. We're not cussing at each other. Is it a big deal? No. But, I mean, for a fencer, what the heck? That ain't bad. Here's a bunch of other ones. Again, this is we've snapped. Look at, they're happy. Oh, 65 pounds. They thought she's going to go out for the National Olympic team for weightlifting. But they're so happy. They're so excited. We increase their awesomeness. Is the back position perfect? No, but she ain't going to get hurt. So we're putting force into the ground. We got to be competent in our Olympic movements, but we don't have to be Olympic lifters. We do not have to be Olympic lifters. They're going to follow that snatch with a forward hurdle jump. The cleans we always follow with the standing long jump. I could not agree more with Dan John with the standing long jump. To me, standing long jump tells you everything you need to know about athleticism. If you're increasing their standing long jump, you're increasing their athleticism. We'll see if we can get into some squatting here, because again, it's very important to me that the student athletes squat low. Here we go. This is our little Demi, great girl. She's got 125, 115, whatever it is. It's over body weight. And so they're just across all of our student athletes, they got to squat low. And, over time, they eventually will. They'll get there. All we got to do is get their flexibility and mobility back. Now, that's a level 1. She's all jacked up. She's from Spain. She'd never squatted before. It's going to take her a little bit of time to end up looking like that, but she'll get there. She'll get there. She'll get there. It's going to happen. All right. Moving on. So then we go to in-season. We have our 2 in-season days. I'm running out of time. Boom, boom, boom. We obviously take down the volume, but our in-season days for our sports are very similar. They're just different for the levels. They're different from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior. Conditioning. Unfortunately, with conditioning, when you're on a small staff, you don't get a chance to condition very much. A lot of times you're stuck in the weight room. So we do some general aerobic conditioning. We'll do some intervals. We'll do speed work. We'll do agility work. But again, the drills that we use are very similar across the sports. Cone shoots, star drills, falling starts, different intervals depending on the energy system used in the sport. But it isn't anything that's so super different for any sport. We try and keep things as consistent as we can. All right. If you have any questions, one, I want to say thank you for your attendance. I don't have an email on here because I don't have one. If you want to contact me, I'll hang around and talk to anybody for as long as you would like. My new email address is scharland, CHARLAND, @iuhealth.org. Would love to connect with you. If you have student athletes that are from the Indianapolis area and they need a place to train where we are not going to try and own their training, we're just going to be happy that they're there and that we're providing a service, I'll contact you, say, hey, I don't know what this drill is. Can you explain this drill to me so I can put your student athlete through it? That's the place we're running. Social media with the Temple, we have a ton of stuff. The Iron Owls TU Twitter. This is my personal Twitter account. I'm good for 1 or 2 interesting things a week on there. But that's a great way to get in touch with me is the Twitter. I'll follow you back. I'm in between phones at different places. But we have a Facebook page, but the kids are kind of out of Facebook right now. We have a YouTube channel. A lot of our warm-ups are on this YouTube channel, Iron Owls TU. I think that's a great resource. I'm right up against it. But I want to thank you for your time, and best of luck to all of you in the future.